Gang. Blouses.
What is up? Week 7 is in the books, and thank God. I know a lot of you are saying this, not just me, but holy shit, man! What a nightmare of a week with the in-season tournament schedule and all the varied lineups and the makeup games, padding Wednesday and Friday. The rest of it was a very weird week. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into this week, just across the board because it was such a strange scheduling situation. We ended up having an issue on Saturday, which was that since technically the Lakers and the Pacers would have 83 games on their schedule because of the championship game that they played on Saturday. That game on Saturday did not count towards fantasy lineups. I was unaware of that. I thought they were just going to let it ride because it doesn't make any difference whether or not it's 82 or 83 in a fantasy situation. So I know a lot of guys were waiting for Pacers players, like Obi Toppin and Rui for the Lakers, Halliburton, and a few others that were picked up, Neesmith, I believe, as well. So that game did not count towards any stats. So we were actually done on Friday. The schedule it sort of restructured itself in terms of what waiver wire pickups we had available, because in the beginning of the week, if you recall, we only had 4 that were available for usage. Then after the knockout games were decided, the quarterfinal games were decided, and Thursday's schedule was set, they added another acquisition that we could have because there would be 5 days of games and not just 4. So it was a lot of up and down, a lot of back and forth of what's counting, what's not, what are we allowed to do this week. So as the commissioner of this league, I just want to say a heartfelt, I'm sorry for not having the information needed to accurately convey this to you. But if the in-season tournament is something that is going to follow the same format as it did this year and into the next year, any returning players, I assure you, I will get this figured out, and we will know for future reference that Saturday's championship game will not count towards anything. So that being said, week 7, totally done. We were wrapped up by Friday night. So if you had a win secured on Friday, you got to enjoy the rest of the weekend, didn't need to worry about it, and watch a little football on Sundays. Not me, because I'm done, eliminated. That's neither here nor there. But goodbye, cruel world. That is it for me in football. It's all hoops from now on. We're going to get into the in-season tournament recap and the injury report and some other a little too early trade talks, as well as some Magic news and other around the league news in the subsequent episode. That's the next episode for those of you that didn't pass vocabulary school in your earlier life. The next episode will be covering more of the, league, non-league specific stuff, meaning non-fantasy related news. But this episode is going to be a quick one. We're just going to do a quick rundown. Same thing as last week. We're going to go matchups. We're going to go power rankings. And then we're going to take a look at some rosters and see who's the most banged up right now, because we're 20 games in. A lot of injuries are going to start to present themselves at this point in the season. So just something to look at to see what we have going on, and if there's any bites on potential trades that may present themselves in this coming week. Spoiler alert: I'm on the hunt. So if you got anything, throw it my way. All right, let's take a look at the matchups for this week. Again, not a lot of stock to be put in this week, but we got to look at it nonetheless. We got to stay consistent. So let's get into that right now. Okay, starting off with my matchup. It's just how it always shows up. It's at the top because it's me looking it up on the computer, not playing favorites. You guys know the drill. Fleeced and Feathered took this one 7-2, and that was not a surprise to me at all. We were actually, it was a lot closer than I had expected, but once the week started and I saw, what was happening with my injury news and people going up and down, and I didn't have a lot of players left in the in-season tournament games that they were counting. So Link had the second highest in points this week, fleeced, pardon me. And as you can see on the mobile breakdown of the field goal percentage, we're both sitting at 518, 51.8%. Um, Looking at the computer version of it, which gives you an extra decimal point, Link finished at, Fleeced finished at 5179, and I finished at 5178. So, not that that category would have decided it because I still needed to win two others additionally. It always hurts to be that close, especially in a week that's, riddled by scheduling nightmares and injuries and uncertainty. So, I hated being that close and not being able to take it. But I think the one thing for me to take away from this matchup personally is the fact that I had 39 assists in 5 days of games, which is, I mean, it's close to nothing. It really is close to nothing. So even with 2 full days of lineups on Wednesday and Friday, I only got 39 assists. That it has to change. I'm starting to see the cracks form. I don't like it. I've said from the beginning about my team that assists are going to be a problem, and this is now presenting itself in the most dramatic fashion. Now, granted, it is a shortened week and it was a weird schedule, but still 39 compared to the rest of the league. The next closest to me was 69. Hey, the next closest to me was 69. So that's just I don't like it. So if we're looking to get rid of a superfluous amount of point guards, throw the trade requests my way because I'm shopping it around. But overall, this is a good win from Fleeced. Secures that number one spot in the power rankings again, and doled out a loss, my first one of the season. So that was great. A lot closer than I had thought based on my injuries, but still, I mean, it's a solid win for Fleeced yet again. Told you guys I didn't want to play them. Next up, we have Don't Go Jason Waterfalls and Tyrese's Pieces, two of my favorite team names in the league. This was a close one. Jason Waterfalls texted me on Saturday and said, "Wait, do these games not count?" And I said, "No, I think we're wrapped up, buddy." And he was like, "Oh, thank God." He squeaked it out for sure. This was a pretty close one. 6 rebounds separation, only 1 steal separation, and within a percent in free throw percentage, about a percentage and a half, and about 1.5 as well in the field goal percentage. So this was very close. Imran ended up winning a lot of the 3 out of 4 of the categories that were very close, but still 9 assist separation. This was pretty close. Damn near matchup of the week, in my opinion, just based on the closeness of it all. So that's a good win for Jason Waterfalls there, going to 4-2-1 on the season. Now he's sitting at 4th place, and he might not have beaten as many teams as he wanted to in this week's power rankings to adjust it, but he still had a pretty solid week. Would have beat about half the league, 4 teams, so still pretty solid. All right, let's get into the next one. This is Smoke in a Bowl, and Everyone for Sale. Still defeated, unfortunately. Jake is our front runner for the paintball punishment as of right now, which is unfortunate. But there's plenty of time to turn this around. Ja Morant's coming back probably within the next, I believe, week and a half, because I think we're on game 20 and 21 in most for most teams' schedules. But yeah, Brian had this. Brian internationally, by the way, kicking our ass. He's over in he's in Indonesia. He was in I believe Japan. He's all over the world. I don't want to give his immediate location, but yeah, he had a solid week. 159 rebounds in a shortened week is very good. And to be quite honest, Jake is just really struggling right now. He probably would have done okay, had there been a full schedule. Maybe he probably could have put up a little bit of a fight, but unfortunately, it swings Smoke in a Bowl's way this week, and Jake's still looking for that first win. So hopefully we can turn things around. We're about a third of the way through the season, so plenty of time left still. 0-6 is not a death sentence. Remember, Randy started the season last year. Randy Bobanders, I believe it was 1-9 or something ridiculous like that. Ended up, making some adjustments and got some guys back and made a run to the finals last year. So there's a lot of time in basketball. Fantasy football season. If you're 0-6, you might be ready to just end it all, and that's it for you. But in basketball, there's many more games, much more weeks in the in the schedule for fantasy overall. So you got time. You're not done yet. So we ain't done. I think we ain't done yet. Let's see. All right, this was a big one too. Jack still staying in second place, technically third, but tied for second place right now. Um, just based on the head-to-head between he and Lincoln, he and Fleeced. And yeah, Jack took this one. Dom was on a little bit of a streak right here. He's strung together a couple solid weeks, win or loss. He's had some pretty nice, I guess, upward momentum with his team. So I liked this matchup a lot. Jack put up 475. That was our high points of the week. And shooting 50% with that, which is impressive. So these two teams both shot not so great from the free throw line. Only team that was worse this week was Randy Bobanders at 71%. But a lot of these guys have, a couple guys that'll swing their free throw numbers down, but that doesn't make their teams, less dangerous. I don't think. I think that's kind of here. It's neither here nor there with whatever, whatever stock you put into free throws. I don't think it's that serious right now. But it was close, and it could have decided the matchup. But long neck lifters now sitting at 5-2, one game back of first place, which is me at 6-1. So this was a solid win. Had to have it to stay up towards the top. So good on you. Only separated by 2 steals, 1 block, 5 assists, and less than 2% from the free throw line. So lots of close numbers here, and I'll give this one a slight nod to matchup of the week just because it was so close in multiple categories. All right, and last but not least, our week 7 finale. Both now sitting at 2-5 based on the result of this matchup. We had a tie in blocks, but Colby Tingus Pingus, who the fuck is that guy? 5-3-1 with the victory. He won 5 categories, only tied in blocks. Relatively low scoring for both of them, 319, 366. Not great, but it was, again, abbreviated week, so not a lot you can look at in points and get a full scope of things. So there's not really much to talk about in this. It was close in a few, but I don't think that Randy Bobanders had enough on Friday to swing it, and it just kind of looked like Colby was, Tingus Pingus was had it locked up based on what was happening in the beginning parts of the week. And quite frankly, anybody going up against Tyrese Halliburton this week was not having a good time. So Tingus had that going for him for sure, and that was a nice win. Nice to get out of the schneid. He was sitting at 5 losses in a row. This gets him out of that losing streak, which is good. And yeah, I think that's it for matchups. So let's get into the standings real quick. We'll do that. We haven't done that in a while, so we'll take a peek at that. And then I'll go over a couple other things fantasy related, and then we'll wrap it up. It's gonna be a quick one, so I just wanted to check in with you guys and say what's up. All right, so the standings are as follows. You can see it over here on the side. Curry on my wayward son, that's me at 6-1. We got a 2-way tie for second place at 5-2. That's Fleeced and Longneck. Jason Waterfalls with that tie, he's still above. Brian's smoking a bowl at 4-3. So technically, he's only a half a game up there because of the tie, but he's still up there. Luka Doncic with that tie as well, sitting at 3-1. Tyrese's Pieces in 7th at 2-4-1. Tingus at 2-5. Bobanders at 2-5 as well now, based on that matchup last week. That was an important one. And then everyone for sale 0-6 and a half a win or a tie. It's looking like a lot of the teams are sort of staying put in the power rankings, which we'll get into in just a second. The top 4 and the bottom 3 have all remained the same from week 6 to week 7. Now, again, I understand it was a weird week. There was a lot of different stuff going on. So this might not be a good sample size of how the power rankings are shaking out and moving around and changing. But I'm just going by what I'm seeing, and I have to go by the numbers that we have to report. I can't make up numbers and just, all of a sudden take into all these outside factors that will move your position in the power rankings. We're not the college football points or the college football playoff committee. So thank God I'm not, because those guys are under some serious fire right now. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it looks kind of the same. We'll take a look at the power rankings right now. As I said before, I'm going to throw it up on the side right now. There you go. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 all staying the same from last week. We have 8, 9, and 10 staying the same from last week. And the biggest jump this week was Smoking a Bull. He is up 2 spots from 7. He's now up to 5. And then we have a very close 6 to 7 power rankings. Tingus Pingus sitting at 3.92 wins per week. And Don't Go Jason Waterfalls at 3.85. I won't go into this too much, but I will say this. I do think that there is something to be said about these power rankings and what teams you should look out for. I really do think that, without the anomaly of Randy Bobanders beating Fleeced and Feathered a couple of weeks ago, without that happening, he's far and away, he's in first place. And I honestly, I just still think he's the best team in the league. I don't really know what else to say. I understand that there's a lot of very solid teams in this, but I don't like the thought of having to see him with a healthy lineup going further into this season, because guys on his team like James Harden are going to grow in the systems that they have been kind of uprooted from and placed into new kind of, new environments. They're only going to get better. And I think that a lot of what we're seeing right now on his team is just, it's very well-rounded. I mean, Joel Embiid put a 50 burger on me last week, which I couldn't come back from. The Embiid and Towns tandem is something that I see in my nightmares. I mean, that along with Kyrie, Paul George, and James Harden, that's a starting five. That any team playing against that starting five is in hell. I mean, honestly, you're in hell thinking about that lineup, and the supporting cast is solid as well. I mean, let's not forget about the fact that he has probably one of the best waiver wire pickups in this season, based on just everybody kind of forgetting that he exists. Terry Rozier putting up big numbers for Charlotte. Now that LaMelo Ball is out, his last 7 games, he's averaging 23 and 10. Shit. That's a free agent pickup. Miles Turner also had a phenomenal showing in the in-season tournament. Last 7 games, he's sitting at 22 and 10 with 2 blocks to boot, just for shits and giggles. You have OG Anunoby, one of my favorite players in the league. Just his 3 and D presence is phenomenal. His last 7 days, 17 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal to boot. And he's doing all this now also without Tyler Herro, who is going to come back and have an immediate impact, because, quite frankly, he has to be. The Miami Heat do not have a lot of scoring on their team right now, with Bam being out, Jimmy being kind of up and down, Kyle Lowry being a 37-year-old point guard who's wildly overpaid. And then, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is doing a great job. I know I said it in the last episode. Unfortunately, I still think he's great. He's averaging, 15, 16 in the last 7 games, or last 7 days, excuse me. And this team just, it's scary. It's very scary. So look out for this team. Just be mindful and do not go to sleep on this team. So this week, what I'll have to say to Jake playing everyone for sale, playing Fleeced and Feathered, is just hold on tight and hope for the best, man. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to swing in everyone for sale's favor. I don't think he's going to get his first win against this team, just based on how well Fleeced has been playing. But anything can happen, so we'll see. But I'm going with that for the week 8 matchup. That's it for power rankings. That's it for the talk of the town. And look, this is not set in stone. A lot of these numbers are very close together. The only one that I think is going to have to take a significant drop to fall out of their respective position is Fleeced and Feathered, just because he's a whole game up of second place, which is myself at 6.64 wins per week. He's he's got a solid team. I don't know what else there is to say. I said it in the breakdown of the draft. I said this is the scariest team if everything goes well. And guess what? Everything's going well. Paul George is fine. Kyrie's a little banged up right now, but he's fine. Joel Embiid not missing extended time. Karl Anthony Towns not missing extended time. So the looming thought of an injury happening for this team could potentially really put a nail in the tire of this journey that they're on. But I don't think we're going to see it. I feel like if something were to come up, we would have already kind of seen that happen on this team, especially with the resting rule and everything like that. So he's benefiting from that as well. So look out for Fleeced. I know I'm saying it again, but just count your blessings on that one. That's a tough fucking team to beat. So if you are one of the two that have claimed or have given him a loss, you should be damn proud of yourself, because that's not going to come very frequently in this season. All right. Okay, let's take a look here. Just some quick some quick things that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention in case you are in the market for some scoring. You're in the mood for a little shakeup in the roster, a little spark off the bench, if you will. This is not for our league specifically. This is something, if you play fantasy and you're listening, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And this is a little insight just to give you an idea of what we're looking at on the free agency wire, to see who's available, who's not, who's trending up, who's trending down, and if points are something you need, then this is what we're going to look at today. Now, sometimes I look at rebounds, sometimes I look at assists, steals, blocks, turnovers, whatever. Today I'm going to look at just points, and we'll see if one of these guys tickles your fancy, if you will. But as far as the highest and lowest added dropped this week, the guys trending upwards are Obi Toppin. He's seen a 5.6% increase in rosterage. I made that word up. And Kelly Oubre also going up 4% in ESPN rosters as well. And Draymond Green in the top three. He went up 3.9% this week in percentage rostered. So a couple of guys that are trending in the right direction. Kelly Oubre is going to come back, and I think he's going to pick up where he left off. I mean, I hope Philly hopes as well. Philly is good. They're a good team. And I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, because I'm not a huge Joel Embiid fan. I'm not a huge fan of the Sixers, but I do love some of the guys that are on that team, Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris being two of those guys. So it is fun for me to watch some of the team succeed. But I still think they're going to be the toughest out in the playoffs in a 7-game stretch, with having 4 options that can really, really kill you if you're not paying attention. Guys trending down, Jalen Suggs is at the top of that list. He has seen a 6.9 percentage decrease in rosterage. However, only rostered in 22.4% of leagues. He went down with an ankle sprain this week, and that's our third starter down. It's December. The air is crisp, so you know what that means. And I even got affected by it. I was playing basketball in the crisp weather the other day, and I sprained my ankle. So I got one fat foot and one skinny foot right now. Skinny-ish, I know. But the ankles are becoming a big problem for a lot of people around the league. We'll get into that in the next episode in terms of our injury report and our breakdown of all of that. Another guy trending downwards is Karis LeVert. He's down 5.6% in leagues, in ESPN leagues. I don't know if this is something to ignore or to pay attention to, because he's so up and down. He's a great guy off the bench. One of my favorite stories in the NBA of all time. And to be honest, I really think that this is a guy that is a catalyst to teams that are trying to get over the hump and teams that are trying to go from good to great. So maybe he's not a great fantasy option. He's a little inconsistent in that front. He'll have a nice scoring game, but a lot of the times when he's sharing the floor with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, Him being at the 2, he's not going to see a lot of touches. He's not going to get a lot of ISOs. He's not going to get a lot of, floppy action drawn up for him. He's not really a catch and shoot guy. He's kind of attack, distribute, and play a little bit of defense. I mean, I can't really tell you the numbers on his advanced stats right now, but he's just a guy. Again, he's like a he's like a Matisse Thybulle. He's like a Josh Hart. He's like a couple of the other guys. Draymond Green is a big one. Not a huge fantasy output guy, but if you want to succeed as a team, I think he falls into that category. I think he's a solid option off the bench, very reliable and real tough. Another guy trending in the downward direction is Big Al Horford. He's down 4.7% in rosterage. So again, this is a weird one too because Tingis Pingus is out. Kristaps Porzingis, he's seeing a little bit of in absence right now. I think he's dealing with an injury, but I'm not sure of the extent of it because I still think he's going to be okay, but there's always an issue with when you're talking about KP, and long-term injuries are definitely something that people are concerned about. He is listed as healthy right now. He's coming back, 21-3 with 2 steals in 30 minutes against New York on Friday. So the calf strain is not a serious injury. We're not talking knees. We're not talking ankles. We're not talking shoulders or anything like that are normally big problems with NBA guys. Hamstrings, hips. Now hips are all over the place. But he's going to be starting in place of Al Horford now until something happens again, which I hope it doesn't, because I really like watching this team when they're fully healthy. I think any basketball fan, unless you hate the Celtics and you're a Laker fan or something, I think a lot of teams and a lot of fans love to see him out there and playing and doing it at the highest potential possible. I just think that there's a lot to go into the Celtics roster right now, and most of it is going to revolve around those top 4 guys. So anybody coming off the bench there, unless there's an injury in that lineup, I would stay away from. Al is a little bit too up and down for me to roster, but if you got a deep league, maybe 12 to 14 guys, and you're looking for quick points, and somebody that'll get you a few on an off night, if you have a light roster one day, that might be the guy you go with. But as far as for me personally, I'm not chomping at the bit for Al Horford. And then lastly, like I said, we're going to talk about some guys that are not rostered in a lot of leagues that are good, pretty decent scoring options, all sitting at about 15 points a game. Very, relatively low rosterage percentages. So here's a quick look at that list right now. Some guys that I like, some guys that I'm looking out for, and to be honest, it's a little all over the place. But I like what I'm seeing from some of these guys. Maybe it'll keep up, maybe it won't. But in terms of what we're seeing right now, I think that we're looking at some good output from these guys going forward in the next couple of weeks. First guy on my list, Emmanuel Quickley, averaging 15 points. He's shooting 90% from the free throw line. Only rostered in 40.2% of leagues. So if scoring is something you need and you're in a deeper league, this is a guy to look out for. He's very efficient when he's out there. He doesn't play a lot of minutes. He's only averaging about 24 minutes a game, but when he's out there, he's doing some good things for the team. So if that's a guy that you're looking for, take a peek. Also averaging a little over 15 points a game, rostered in 43.2% of leagues. That's Cole Anthony. He's shooting about 85% from the free throw line, shooting 45% from the floor, which is far better. He could be in the sixth man of the year discussion in the league this year. So something to look out for. Only averaging about 26 points a game, so something to take a look at. All right, sorry, I had a cough attack. Jesus Christ. Another guy that I like a lot just because of he's a very high free throw shooter. He'll throw in a couple assists, a couple rebounds. Malik Monk, only rostered in 33% of leagues. That's 1/3 for those of you mathematicians out there. Shoots a little lower for my liking in terms of field goal percentage, but if points is an immediate concern, this might be something that you would look at. 25.2 minutes per game. So just again, a lot of these guys are coming off the bench in limited roles. The last three that I mentioned are basically 6 men for the team, but I think Malik Monk could. I think he's always the one that's sort of teetering on a starting spot with the Sacramento Kings. Another guy that I mentioned earlier, Jaime Jaquez Jr., he's averaging 15 in the last 7 days. Only rostered in 19% of leagues. This isn't a guy who I'm immediately going to look at and say, I need this dude on my team, but it is somebody that you need to keep an eye on if these injuries keep up and his production and his minutes continue to increase. Because if it's anything we know about the Miami Heat, they do find diamonds in the rough like this, who a lot of people sleep on. So if points are an immediate concern, 15 a game, not bad. He might be a guy for you to look at. And then, unfortunately, I have to acknowledge the villain, Dylan the villain. In his last 7 days, he's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, and coming up on a game against San Antonio tonight, who is not very good. So he could be seeing an increase in that. But he is only rostered in 14.6% of leagues, and he is currently sitting at his season averages are 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists with a steal to boot. And averaging around 30 minutes a game. So again, this isn't for, everybody. It's not going to be something to look at in every situation, in every category that will benefit you. This is simply if points are a major concern for your team and you need a little bit of a boost, take a look at those guys. God damn, I'm getting these cough attacks today, man. It's fucking allergies. That's it. We're going to wrap up real quick. This is going to be a halvesy episode, but we're going to get into some of the other around the league news. Just real quick before we go, shout out to our movers and shakers of the week. We had 4 teams use all 5 of the acquisitions. We haven't done this award in a little bit, so I wanted to bring it back. Fleeced, Curry-On, that's myself, Long Neck Lifters, and Luka Doncic all exhausted their acquisitions. Very nicely done, guys. And the ride or dies. There was 4 teams that did not use any acquisitions at all. That was Tingus Pingus. That was Randy Bobanders, Tyrese's Pieces, and Dunko Jason Waterfall. So, hey, stick with it. I like it. Go with your gut. Congrats to the winners. I'm sorry to the losers, but remember, it's a long season. We got a lot of weeks left, a lot of play left. So keep an eye on that free agency situation. If, take a look and see scheduling wise what we need, what we don't need, what you're okay with punting per se, and just stay on it. That's really all I can say. The best players and the most successful teams in this league are not necessarily maybe the most loaded, but the ones that are kind of tinkered with as often as possible. This is a daily thing, so just to keep an eye on that. But that is it. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Appreciate it. Goodbye.
Gang. Blouses.